Hey guys, Abesh here. In today's video, I'm going to be going through the importance of appointment setting and why it is so crucial. When you have dialed in appointment setters in place, it will make your life a lot easier being the offer owner to scale to that 50 to 100k per month. So, as per the title, guys, as you can see, the appointment setting engine. If you are looking to bring in an appointment setter, I always go for hunger and volume. For closes, like I will look more so for skill. However, for appointment setters, it's mainly just hunger and volume. So in terms of like their experience as well, obviously if they have skin in the game, then great. But if they don't have skin in the game, then it's not a massive barrier, I would say, because I can always train them, or I can always have a sales manager train the appointment setters, because it doesn't really take a long time to train someone to be a dialed in appointment setter. So why does appointment setters matter? Okay, and you guys probably may already know this, right? Why appointment setters matter, but it really matters because if you have appointment setters in your team, they will be able to qualify leads for you, right? So if you're facing a lot of no shows, if you're facing a lot of unqualified leads, a lot of broke leads, for example, and you're doing everything yourself, then I would highly recommend adding a DM setter in. Okay, first of all, you can also add a dialer in, but I highly recommend DM setter because they will ultimately do everything for you, right? And they're on commission basis as well. So if they make more money, you're ultimately going to be making more money as the offer owner as well, like as the coach. Okay, so appointment setters, they're very important because they are your frontline soldiers. Okay, they have eyes everywhere in terms of the responses that you're going to be getting over your DMs. They are your frontline soldiers. They can see what type of pain points each individual prospects are getting when they do reach out to yourself, because obviously they're going to be asking a lot of pain points questions, a lot of qualifying questions, and because they're kind of in the front line, they will be able to see what specific pain points a lot of your audience are facing. So they will be able to kind of back brief that onto yourself, the offer owner, and you can always amend content off the back of that as well. Okay. So their job ultimately, right, is to identify, is to qualify and move serious people onto calls. So only qualified leads are only going to reach the closers calendar, or if you're the offer owner that takes the sales calls yourself, then it will be yourself that will only be receiving qualified calls. However, if you're an individual, if you're a coach that is looking to scale to that 50 to 100, then I would highly outsource it to a closer. When you are the offer owner and you're also taking sales calls, I would highly recommend outsourcing it to a closer, because you can just focus on more important tasks in terms of like making more content, or focusing on your fulfillment, while if you have a dialed in closer in place, they can ultimately close deals for you as well. It just removes that extra bit of work where you can focus more on the income generating tasks, while the closers and the sellers can do their bit, right? And in terms of helping your offer grow as well. Why volume makes more money? Okay, more conversions equals more data and more book calls. And data, which we'll go through in a bit as well, it's so important. When you have setters in, they will be able to see everything because they are your eyes and ears of your offer. Okay, they're speaking to leads every single day. They know what pain points that they're currently facing, and they know exactly what is going on, right? What type of leads are coming in. So they'll be able to track everything as well. And moving on to the engine of the entire sales operation. Okay, that's the whole job of an operator. That's the whole job of the appointment setter as well. So appointment setters, they ultimately protect closers by removing unserious leads. Okay, they create consistent revenue flow by controlling call quality as well, and ultimately setters, they save everyone's time. If you're getting a lot of broke leads, if you're getting a lot of no shows, then I would also look into your setters, right? Are they sending post call videos? Are they sending post call assets videos? Are they touching up with the prospects before they jump on a call with the closer? So it's things like this. The appointment setter is so crucial that if you have, then it really just increases, your show up rate. It increases the leads. It also increases more cash flow for your business as well. So that's why appointment setters are so important. And you definitely cannot kind of scale to 50 to 100 if you do not have an appointment setter in. Because if you're a coach that you want to scale to 6 figures per month, and you're handling the DMs yourself, or you have like an AI system in place, then AI are good, but it just doesn't really have that humane touch to it. That's why I recommend having a setter in, that will ultimately do all of that for you and just make it more of a human interaction, right? Rather than like a transactional action. Okay. So moving on to the data engine. Okay. So why setters creates more than just book calls? because like I mentioned earlier, they are your frontline soldiers. Okay, they hear objections, they hear pain points, the desires and hesitations daily. Okay, so off the back of that, you will be able to make better content. As I mentioned here, this data fuels better offers, better scripts, and better content. Because now that you've got the setters, right, they're in the front line, right, they're getting all these objections thrown at them, right, and if they can kind of get back to you, this is why there is end of day forms, right, and if they can fill it out on the daily basis in terms of what objections that they're getting, what types of leads that are coming in, if they're feeding that information back to you, the offer owner, you can definitely amend your content from there, right? If you feel like you're targeting a specific prospect, right? However, the pain points that the setter is currently getting does not match the offer that you have, then you're just gonna have to look at re-evaluating the offer that you have, right? Are you targeting the right ICPs? That's why appointment setters are so important, and this really helps with your offering as well. If you need to make any adjustments, because they are the front line, they know what's going on. Because ultimately, there's no point trying to sell to an audience that doesn't really want to buy your product, you know. So setters turn conversions into market intelligence. So they ultimately know everything, right? As I mentioned here, right, appointment setters don't just book calls, they drive the entire business forward. Without appointment setters, you won't ultimately waste anyone's time as well. If you have a dialed in setter in place, you will be able to only get qualified leads in. Closer is going to be a lot happier because he or she is only getting qualified calls in, and it just increases the chance of, you know, more deals being closed as well going forward. Okay. So just touching a base on the qualification framework, right, for appointment setters. So if you're a coach and you're looking to bring in a setter in, right, these are the few things that I will ultimately look at as well. And I'll go through the first one, which is the qualification framework. Okay, so filtering unserious leads before they even reach the closer or yourself if you're taking sales calls. Okay, so pain points and desires. So what problem are they trying to solve? You know, how long have they been there, and what they want instead. Okay, urgency and consequences. Why now matters. What happens if they do nothing, and how important change is right now. Okay, you being the appointment setter, right, you need to be able to kind of change the identity shift on the DMs as well, because when you're a setter, right, and when you're working for an offer owner, you know, you have that credibility because people ultimately think that they're speaking with the offer owner. So this is why the setters have to speak with confidence, because if you have a setter in place that's managing your DMs, right, and they ultimately are speaking completely different to how you speak, then the math is not mathing, you know. That is the reason why you ultimately have to get your setters to watch either your YouTube videos, your vlogs, just so they can ultimately imitate you as well, because it needs to match. Because if you speak a certain way, like in your vlogs, in your YouTube channel, or in your Instagram reels, for example, but how you talk is completely different over the DMs, then that might add a little bit of a friction to it as well. So I would highly, you know, train your appointment setters in a way where they also talk like you, and they also can ask questions like you, you know, in terms of your long form content as well. Because what setters and what offers should be doing is they should be funneling people onto the YouTube, okay, and then onto the VSL, etc. Okay, and commitment check. Are they willing to show up, take action, and follow through if given a solution? Commitment check can also include of like how serious they are, right? After you've done through the discovery, you know, you can ultimately ask them about their goals, just so it aligns with the goals we have within our program. Like ultimately, what does that goal look like for you? You know, example questions like that. Okay, and after the commitment check, then we move down to the decision and money filter, because your appointment setter doesn't want to be booking leads in that think that the program is going to be free, right? Because that's just going to waste the closer's time. So investment capacity. Okay, so do they have funds to invest in themselves or access to funds as well? Okay, decision authority. Are they the decision maker, or does someone else needs to be involved? And readiness to act. Are they exploring, or are they prepared to move forward if it makes sense for them? So just to elaborate a little bit on this as well. So the investment capital questions you can get your appointment setter to ask is, okay, so depending the program makes sense for you, are you open to investing in your personal development? Okay, so that's one question, right? Investment capacity. In terms of decision authority, this is very important because you will probably most likely get like a wife objection. I need to speak with my partner objection. So this is where you have to make sure that your setters are trained and they are ultimately only bringing in individuals alongside all of the other things that I mentioned, that the decision maker is going to be on the call. Okay, so what questions can you ask ultimately? So you can ask, okay, cool, so are you embarking on this business alone, or do you have any other investors that's backing you up with this, or do you have any partners that you're going to be doing this with? If they say they're doing this with someone else as well, make sure to get them on the call as well. And this is the message that you can relay to your setters as well, because 9 times out of 10, if an individual is only jumping on a call with the closer but they have a partner as well, they will 9 times out of 10 will say, I need to speak with my partner, I need to run it through him or her. Okay, so to eliminate that, you can ask the question which I mentioned earlier. And readiness to act. Are they exploring, or are they prepared to move forward if it makes sense? So this is also very important, because you'll be able to find out if they're just coming in just for the information, and then maybe speaking to 3 or 4 different offers, right? And they're just kind of evaluating which one makes the most sense for them as well. So, question that you can ultimately ask in this scenario as well is, on a scale of 1 to 10, depending our program makes sense for you, where would you place yourself, and how confident are you that this is the program that will help you get to where you want to be? If they say a 10, then you know that they're ready to act. Okay, cool. So moving up to the booking and control framework. Okay, so turning qualified conversations into booked calls. Okay, so control the conversation, lead the interaction, don't chase approval, and keep momentum. So your setters, they have to be the one in control. They cannot be sending messages, right, to prospects with like a sentence, right? They always have to acknowledge, and they have to end it off with an open-ended question. Because if they don't acknowledge, or if they don't, end it off with an open-ended question, then the prospect will not have anything to answer to, right? And they may take control of the conversation from there. So that's why it is so essential. Same way for the closers. It is so essential that setters are in control of the conversation as well, right? Because because your setters will face a lot of times where there are some prospects that's impatient, right? They may have been following you for a while, and they may just be like, can I just get straight into the investment? Like, how much is it? Can you just tell me that? Like, I don't want you to kind of ask me all these, what do you do right now, etc., etc. So, but this is where your setter has to stay in control, and this is where your setter has to ultimately ask, as an example, I completely understand that you want to get to the investment part. However, just to make sure that you are the correct fit for us as well, is it okay if I just ask you a couple more questions and then we can go to the investment part? Is that okay? And then you can just carry on from there as well, because the prospect tried taking control, but then the setter, took control, stayed in authority, and then, continued with the conversation going forward as well. Okay, so book while emotion is high. Okay, so schedule the call as soon as pain, urgency, and desires are clear. You want your setters to ultimately book them on the call within the next 12 to 48 hours. You do not want your setters to book prospects onto a call, like 4 or 5 days in advance. Okay, because by then your leads are most likely going to be cold, and they may not be as interested anymore. So while emotion is high, you want to book as soon as possible. Okay, this way show up rate is going to be higher. This way, their emotions is very high, so they are more so likely to act on the spot as well while they're on the call with the closer, and it just increases the chance of the deal actually closing. Okay, so set the frame. Position the call as serious, focused, and valuable for both sides. Okay, if you don't set frames on the conversation, if you're asking, the discovery and then you're going straight into the investment, then there's no really frameworks attached to it, right? So frame you can use is, obviously, in the beginning you can ask where they're based, right? Go through the discovery, go through the pain points, go through the commitment and the desires, like what's their goals, and then go through the financial questions, the decision making questions, and then book them in as soon as possible. Okay, so if you have all of that in place, then you will by far have more of a qualified lead. And if the lead is not so qualified, then you can always get your setter to divert them onto either your free community, or they can send them any free resources, and then you can always follow up with them in the near future. Okay, so this is why, guys, having an appointment setter is so important, because if you train them right, and instead of inbound, if they're also doing outbound, if they're like messaging all the new followers, they're maintaining good relationship with the audience as well. And the one thing that I have seen a lot is, every time setters, when they do outbound, they go in straight for the pitch, right? They do like a little bit of discovery and then they go for the pitch. You, the offer owner, know that the audience that are following you kind of are following you because they like your content, they resonate with you, or they trust you, but they just have not kind of messaged you yet. So now they're in your ecosystem, right? And this is where your appointment setters can just normally speak with them, have a normal conversation with them, and they don't even have to pitch in the very beginning as well. That you can reply to stories. If there's a restaurant that a specific individual or a prospect went to, you can just be like, oh cool, I was also there, XYZ. Or if they're on a holiday right now, oh cool, where is this place? I would love to go there. Just little conversation starters, just building rapport. And then you can always go in more so with how you can help them with the problem if they ultimately DM you, because they are going to be following you for a while, right? And at one point, either they'll message you or the setter, because they've been kind of maintaining the good relationship with your audience, right? They've been touching base, not really been pitching, not really been sounding very salesy. And then once that rapport is built, then the setter can ultimately go for the pure discovery, the commitment check, the temperature check, and then trying to get them booked in on a call and see how, that offer can specifically help them with their current situation. Okay. So I hope that helps, guys. And if you're a coach and you're looking to ultimately scale to 50 to 100K per month, then you will most likely need a setter, because if you want to do it alone, then not saying that you can't, but you're just going to be working like 24 hours a day. And obviously when you, the offer owner, want to scale your business, you want to be, distributing and, systemizing your business as best you can. So having a dialed in appointment setter, a soldier appointment setter, is so important, because they are your eyes and ears to everything. Okay, they'll be able to help you dictate your offer, help you amend your offer, and just being able to increase your show up rate, and just ultimately make sure that your coaching offer is constantly cash flowing. So that's why having an appointment setter is very important and very crucial to scale to that 50 to 100K per month, guys. Cool, guys. So I hope you found this video helpful. And if you're a coach and you want to scale to that 50 to 100K per month, then my description is in the link below. And please do reach out and we can jump on a call and see how I can ultimately help you. But thank you, guys. I'll see you on the next one.